20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
The wonderful city of Kuala Lumpur, and we are in Nilai, just south of KL, for the third and final round of the UCI Track World Cup, coming to you live from this wonderful country of Malaysia. So much happening in this region. Kuala Lumpur itself, that's the velodrome, just over in the distance slightly. And it is a wonderful facility that has developed so many fantastic riders from Malaysia. So much to see in and around Kuala Lumpur and Nilai. See the Petronas Towers, wonderful towers. They were the world's tallest buildings back in 1998 to 2004. And it's all about track cycling as we come indoors, and we will see the local superstar, Azizul Awang. Won't be on tonight's program, but we'll see him tomorrow in the Kirans and then the sprints. So he's an absolute legend here in Malaysia. And this is the statistics of the velodrome itself, of course, 250 metres around, as all standard velodromes are. My name is Scott McGrory, bringing you all the action from this final round here in Nilai, and this is what's on the program here tonight. We will kick things off with the women's team sprint, the first round. The world champions were the fastest in qualifying for the Netherlands this afternoon. The men had their team sprint, as well does the men's and women's team pursuits for the endurance riders, and both men's and women's eliminations. So a real mix of speed and endurance with the team sprints, the team pursuits, and the eliminations. It's a wonderful program this afternoon to get into the finals for this evening. So the women's team sprint getting things underway, and the crowd have really enjoyed everything that's happened here on the first day of competition as we go into this first evening session. 3 days of competition, and everyone is thinking also about the World Championships coming up later in the year in Shanghai, China, for the UCI, of course. And we'll get honing their disciplines, trying to get as best as they can as we head towards the World Championships. And those Worlds in October will be the first of the points gatherings for the quotas for the Olympic Games coming up in London 2028. This is the start list that we'll see for the women's sprint first round. The fastest two winning teams will race for gold and silver, and the other two winning teams will race for the bronze medal. The losers are classified from 5th to 8th place, but you must win in the first round if you want to have a chance of racing for the medals. Doesn't matter where you qualified in this top 8, as long as you get the win. It's a little bit different to the way the team pursuit is run. I'll tell you all about that once we get into the team pursuits a little bit later on. But first, it's Poland versus Malaysia. Poland, they were 8th in Hong Kong last week, so they really have stepped up this time around. And for the riders from Malaysia, 5th fastest in qualifying, 48.274. So a little bit of work to do to go better than Poland, but they were very close, only 0.2 of a second outside the Malaysian national record, which was set only a couple of weeks ago in the Philippines. So they are on sensational form, the team from Malaysia, and that national record is really what they are hunting here on their home track. Poland slightly favoured with Karvaka, Loss and Sibiak, simply from the qualifying time. But for Malaysia, Rosidi, Maud Astri and Maud Farid doing everything they can to kick off for the local crowd in spectacular fashion. And the introduction of the Malaysian team gets a really big roar from the crowd here in Nilai. Plenty of excitement. So the first race to get things underway here in Nilai, Malaysia, Round 3, UCI Track World Cup, team sprint, first round. Good clean start, a huge roar from the crowd for the Malaysian team. They have a little bit of work to do if they want to beat Poland. Poland have stepped up dramatically since last week in Hong Kong. They weren't on the boards in Perth a month ago. The second rider for Malaysia, just giving a little bit of distance to run. So Polish team out in front by 0.7 of a second. Winners are the only ones that get to go through and have a chance of racing for the medals, but we will look at that time of Malaysia to see how they compare to their national record. Poland, well out in front, and Malaysia starting to close it down to 0.4 of a second into the final lap now. This is going to be super tight between these two. Coming down even more, so it's all going to come down to this half lap. Poland staying out in front, Malaysia trying to close it down, but Malaysia will get the win. Poland will get the win. 47.6. And for the Malaysian team, 48.292. So similar to what they did in qualifying, 0.2 of a second outside of their national record. Good result, though, to kick off the racing here in Nilai. So good win for Poland. Nice start from both teams, no issues. And with such a short race, 3 laps of the track, 1 lap for each rider, you have to be perfect. Tiny little mistake at the start will cost you at the end. So Poland, our first winning team. Heat number 2 now, Mexico versus the United States of America, 3rd and 6th fastest in the qualifying. Around about half a second or so between these two. Mexico 47.7 versus the United States 48.3. And the Pan American champions jersey, as you can see. The Mexican team, 3rd quickest, Pan American champions. Maria Vizcaino in the starter's position. She'll be going head-to-head against McKenna McKee for the United States that are still struggling to get themselves sorted in the back straight. Kayla Hankins and Haley Yoslov will line up beside her for the USA. Verdrugo and Gaxiola likewise for Mexico. Mexican team very experienced. They have been around World Cup, World Championships, Olympic Games for a number of years now. Somewhat of a new look outfit for the United States. Now, they are the team pursuit Olympic champions, the USA, but in the team sprint, they haven't had that sort of success. So trying to build a team as they look towards the Los Angeles Olympics. Clock is counting down. USA still just trying to get their start rider sorted out. Now she's ready to go. Final 30 seconds. Second heat, women's team sprint. 3 laps of the track. 1 lap for each of these riders. Poland are going through the next round. We don't know if they'll be racing for which of the medals just yet. Good clean start from both teams. So the Pan American champions in their wonderful skin suits from Mexico. They are the faster of these two teams by a significant way in the qualifying. But as I said, little mistakes. They really multiply when it comes to the team sprint. Good start from the US though. Mexico starting to bring it back a little bit now. It'll be Gaxiola versus Yaslov, and now they go into the green. Mexico, as expected. Took them a little while, though, to get to that green position as fastest, and now it goes out to 0.5 of a second into the last quarter of a lap now. So Mexico should come through to finish this one off, as they do, 47.2. And that's a winning time for them ahead of the US. 48.0 for the United States. So they improved by just around 0.3 of a second. Mexico, almost 0.5, half a second improvement for them. And most of the teams will improve in the team sprint rounds. 3 races in the one day, but they do technically seem to get a little bit quicker each time around. So both teams improving. That's a good result. Mexico are the winners, though. They will progress. Good start from Maria. She was a little bit behind, though, so McKenna McKee from the United States, really rapid start from her. Poland, though, still with the fastest first lap. That was Marlena Kavaka. Heat number 3 now. First round, women's team sprint. China versus Czechia. Second fastest qualifiers in China. 47.0 was their time. Denis Dmitriev at the top of the track, holding up Wang Liyong. He's a former world sprint champion, working for the Chinese team as a national coach. So Lao, Zhu and Wang. The starter for China, only 20 years of age. And on the other side of the track, Petikova and the two Yabornikova sisters, Veronica and Anna. Oof, aggressive way to get someone fired up. The elbows buckled under the weight of that. Let's see how Sarah goes now off the start. China versus Czechia. Heat number 3, women's team sprint, first round. No harm done for Sarah. Maximum effort through the pedals. China, certainly a team that is expecting to do well. They were first in Hong Kong last week. Great Britain was second. They're not here this time around. Netherlands, they are though. They were third last week and they had the fastest qualifying time. Good start from China. Super quick for the first lap. 18.79 was the opening lap for China. That is rapid. Zhu comes through, does her job. And now Wang will be the last rider for China. Yabornikova Anna doing likewise for Czechia, and 1.4 seconds. This is going to be a comfortable win for China, but the time is important. Have to be within the 2 fastest times, and 46.1, that'll do it. Wow, extraordinary time. So 9/10 quicker than what was ridden in qualifying by China. So that's a massive improvement over 3 laps. 18.79 the first lap, 32.13 for 500, 46.136 for 3 laps. That is quite outstanding. And 0.4 of a second quicker than what the Netherlands, the fastest qualifiers, were able to produce earlier today. So that's a clear message to the Netherlands, the world champions. Wonderful speed from the team from China. Now the Netherlands, the world champions, up against Ukraine. 4th last week. They were third last week in Hong Kong. In those rainbow bands, they would have been a little bit disappointed, as you could imagine, as world champions from Santiago, Chile last year, finishing only 3rd. But now they are the fastest qualifiers here with the 46.5, but they've just witnessed China go 0.4 quicker in that first round race. So Kimberly Carley, Hetty van der Waal and Steffi van der Peet versus Victoria Polishuk, Ali Beletska and Alessandra Lovinuk from Ukraine. 2 seconds was the difference in the qualifying between these two teams. So you would expect the Netherlands, barring an incident, to come away with the win between these two. But they have to be at least the second quickest team to have a chance to race for gold. So Victoria Polishuk from Ukraine versus Kimberly Cayley from the Netherlands. The first lap. The world champions are on the track. And they need to go faster than 47.2 to guarantee a race against China in the main final. Oh, really good start from Ukraine. So Victoria getting the team from Ukraine up and going extraordinarily well. Now it goes in favour of the Netherlands. And with riders like Van der Waal and Van der Peet, that's what you can expect from the world champions. Now it's out to 1 second in such a short amount of time. That was in one lap. It blew out to a second difference. So the world champions from Netherlands will come around to get the win here, but the time, that's what we're going to be looking at. So 46.6. Second quickest time, guarantees they're racing against China for gold and silver. But they know they need to step it up. China with a 46.1 versus 46.6 for the Netherlands. So the world champions have to pull out something special in the final versus China if they want to win gold. And that's what's on the program later on tonight. Great start from Victoria Polishuk from Ukraine. So that's how they'll line up. China versus Netherlands, Poland versus Mexico. The medals, women's team sprint, later on the program. So they'll get a little bit of rest. It's a big day for the sprinters. Qualifying, first round, and then the final. I know it's only 3 laps, but it's still a maximum effort each time. It really does start to hurt. Then most of those riders have either or the Keirin and sprint over the next 2 days. So it's a really big program for all of the riders, such a condensed program. And from the pure sprinters, we'll go to the endurance riders. The elimination coming up next. Malaysian cycling has really done wonders over the last 15 years. Josiah Ong and Azazul Awang, the 2 standout male riders. Josiah, winning Commonwealth Games gold back in 2010, and Keirin world champion in Azazul Awang, medalist several times in the Keirin at the Olympic Games, as well as we see another champion of international cycling, Roger Kluge, coming up onto the track. That's Grant Kuntz from the USA, but Roger Kluge, 3-time Madison world champion, and we'll go way back to 2008. He picked up a silver medal in the men's points race at the Olympic Games, Roger Kluge. Still going strong. Mohammed Maud Jaffrey is the rider from Malaysia, flying the Malaysian flag here, number 13. Hopefully it's lucky for him. So this is the men's elimination race. Last rider across the line every 2 laps is eliminated, hence the name, right down to the last 2. Really is a race of strength and tactics. Some of the best riders in the world have been caught out underneath with nowhere to go and find themselves eliminated, even with fresh legs. There's just no space when you get caught down underneath. Red Walters from Grenada, a solo rider for Grenada, trying to make his way through to the World Championships later in this year. Search him up on Instagram. He has been running a daily diary of the Track World Cup season, documenting his ambition to get to the World Championships. Japan has so many talented riders. That's Naoki Kojima. Matteo Fiorin from Italy. He won the elimination last week in Hong Kong, looking to go back-to-back. He also raced the Omnium last week, and it was surprising to see him go out midfield in the elimination that's part of the Omnium race, but the standalone elimination, he took the gold medal. So let's see if he can do that again. Showed fantastic form last week. Strength, speed and skill to get that win. Belgium always has good bunch races. And Milan van den Hout, another young rider from Belgium coming through. Kenny DeKedler, one of the standouts. Ilio Kaisa, some fantastic names from Madison and points racing over the years. Van den Houten is the next one coming up. So they'll line up in their order as we look at Hopperzak from Netherlands. They had a great week last week in the endurance races. Vincent wasn't on the track in the bunch races, but they had Philip Heinen and Yuri Harvick doing really well in those bunch races. Phil Heinen picked up the Omnium overall win. Nick Stoppler, the coach for the Netherlands. So Vincent Hopperzak, he comes up to third position at the bottom of the track. Keegan Hornblow. There's Maud Jaffrey. Hornblow is in the black colours for New Zealand. Grant Kunst. So this is the top of the track here. See Mathieu Dupe from France, top of the track. Red Walters. And it's always a frenetic start for on the elimination, I should say. They'll push hard, the riders at the back, to try and get towards the front. First lap, as long as they're all together, they'll get the start, the official start after this neutral lap. There's Red Walters down the bottom of the track. He doesn't want to be there for too long. And they are underway, so the next time they come around, they will get the whistle to signify the first elimination lap. Every 2 laps, last rider across the line will be eliminated. So there's the bell. And right down the very back there, it's Chris Ernst from Canada. Mentioned he did crash in the Omnium last week. He's back on the track, looking okay, fighting for position. Looks like he might be able to get through. Abi Manu could be in danger. And I think it is. So it's Abi Manu from Indonesia. First one to be eliminated. The elimination laps do come very, very quick every 2 laps. At these speeds, they're motoring around the track here in Nilai, Malaysia. Manthos from Greece. I think he gets himself out of danger. And we'll look down to the bottom of the track. It was the Belgian rider. He wasn't last across the line, but he must have made an infringement. So they're taking out Van den Hout. He's still in the race, though. He's still in the race, so they haven't taken... The Belgian rider has not come out. Typically, they neutralise the race to guarantee that rider that's been eliminated has dropped out. So a little bit of confusion here as they have continued on. So the Indian rider now is the next one to go. Sekon. Harshvir, Sekon. So I'm not sure why Milan van den Hout was called out, because he's still out there and they have not signified they want him off the track. So maybe just a mistake from the announcer perhaps. Next elimination lap as they come through down the bottom of the track, perhaps the Canadian Ernst. Switzerland. So Alex Vogel. Translates Vogel to Bird, the Birdman, out of the race unfortunately, but Ernst in a little bit of trouble once again, the Canadian. See the line colours of Erzen, but it will be Chris Ernst, I imagine, yes, Canadian. So the couple of ways to be eliminated, obviously last rider across the line is the obvious one, the normal one, but if you try and push through to gain position, and they do see that, the officials, the commissaires, will eliminate you, or if you go underneath on the blue band and improve your position, that's the other way to be eliminated. And the crowd are looking a little bit nervous as Maud Jaffrey is right at the very back here in the black colours. And he's going to be eliminated. So it's really unfortunate to see the Malaysian go. Unless there was an infringement, they're looking for it, waiting. It has not been announced yet. He's self-eliminating. He knew he was last. But they've put the green flag out. So there might have been an issue. They thought perhaps it was too close to call. But it's going to be really tough for him this time because he had already given himself some distance. Maybe with a bit of a run, he might be able to keep in here, but I don't think it's going to happen this time. He goes. Malaysia. So disappointment for the crowd here in Nilai. Walters from Grenada goes to the front. Hoppersack from Netherlands. Those two riders, no problems for them this time, but from Hong Kong, perhaps already doing a self-elimination, Chu Sun Wei. So it'll be a slow elimination this time, but it will be the light blue colours when he gets up to the line. So self-eliminating, just a bit cooked, fairly early on, just indicating the speed. Oh. So cameras focused on Korea, but had forgotten that the rider from Hong Kong was already out the back. So the Korean has to speed up again. So Yang Han, straight past with momentum. So good from him to go straight back around and not to have to fight again for the next elimination lap. So restarting after that little bit of confusion. Manthos, Nicholas. Last rider, quick look over the shoulder just to make sure he was the last rider. But often you look at who's down underneath. So Mary is Manthos out of the saddle, speeding up to try and get himself back up around the outside. Azin in the lime green colours of Slovenia. They both go through all right across the track. It could be France there. Matthew Dupe. It was. So he was down in the middle there, but just no room to try and accelerate. Kluger was really close that time as well, and he's now found himself on the back once again. Kojima from Japan in front. Now Kluger just trying to speed up a little bit here, get a bit of a run at the peloton. Manthos down the bottom. This time he'll go. So Nicholas Manthos from Greece. Yeah. So I'm calling them as I see them, but that's sometimes too early because if there is an infringement, our president of the commissaire panel may eliminate someone else. So I will correct myself if that is the case, of course. Kluger, 3 times world Madison champion. Should be okay this time. Doesn't have to go too hard as long as he has someone on the inside of him, and it's Yang Han. Ooh, it was very close though. Ooh. Wait for it. And it was Germany, Roger Kluger. I gave him more credit than he deserved just then. So trying to play with it and make it as tight as possible. He's caught himself out, Roger Kluger. You have to focus on the Madison for tomorrow. So Grant Kunst from USA has gone off the front. He'll have no bearing on the eliminations. This time it will be Yang Han. So the Korean is gone. They gave him a second chance. Unable to get up into the medals. So Grant still soldiers on in front. Hornblow from New Zealand leads the peloton through. At the very back though, it's Duke from Argentina. Trying to get a run at Vincent Hoppersack perhaps in the orange colours. But I feel the Argentinian doesn't quite have it in the legs.
Argentina. 1-8. Argentina.
So Zach Ernzen, Slovenia, at the back. Walters from Grenada in front of him. So 2 riders right on the edge here. And Kojima could be in trouble if they both come past on the inside. So they do go over the top. I think it's at the very top. It's Zach Slovenia. Yep, so Ernzen. Kojima was really in danger there. If they were able to flash over the top, he would have been stuck underneath. So Ilya Safakin, he gets himself out of danger. No problems for him at all. And down the bottom, it will be Staniszewski. Yep, Staniszewski from Poland. It's inviting to be underneath. You're in the slipstream, it's much easier on the legs, but when they fan out and come up over the top, there's just no way you can improve your position. Stuck with nowhere to go, with plenty of energy in the legs. Such a frustrating situation to be in when you're in the elimination. So Kuntz is down the bottom now, but he has riders behind, so he's okay. Gee, that was a close one up the top. Rostovtsev from Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan now, coached by a good friend of mine, Jochen Dornbusch from Germany. Was my mechanic back in the six-day scene back in the day before he became a coach. Looks after so many teams. The Nuremberg women's team, prominent team he looked after before becoming a national coach at several countries and Uzbekistan. Kojima, Walters at the bottom, Kojima at the top, and it is Kojima. So Naoki Kojima. So Walters was really dicing with it there. He's put himself right up underneath in the yellow colours, yellow, red and green colours of Granada. So he's in danger if they come around the outside this time. So Safakin, Walters on the inside with nowhere to go, and that's why he's going to be the next one out. So Red Walters. 7th place for him, so he does pick up some points. Possibility of making his way through to the World Championships. Interesting tactics from Keegan Hornblow as he gets some elevation down the back straight. You can see now on the inside that Grant Kuntz is there. He doesn't have to go past everyone because Kuntz is stuck on the inside. And with no room, he'll be the next one out. So 5 riders remain. Hornblow, he's going to employ the same tactics as the last elimination. Safakin on the front. And we haven't really mentioned Matteo Fiorin, the winner from Hong Kong last week. So he's riding really well. Hoppersack in trouble. And he'll be the next one out, Vincent Hoppersack. So one more elimination until we get the first of our medals. Well, Matteo Fiorin, gold last week. One more elimination and he'll be on the podium once again. So that's very consistent riding in eliminations, which is so difficult to do. Hornblow with a bit of room to make up. Fiorin is in his sights and Keegan Hornblow is coming, but he's not going to get there.
New Zealand, 137.
So we're down to 3. Fiorin guaranteed a medal now, the Italian. Navas from Spain, Safakin, neutral country representation in the light blue colours. He's the first one to go. Ilya Safakin down the back straight. Fiorin trying to mow down Navas from Spain in second position. They're both coming at the back wheel of Safakin though. And it will be Fiorin this time. So the gold medalist last week in Hong Kong picks up the bronze this time. Still a handy result. The most dominant force in men's elimination racing since it came into the World Championships, of course, his compatriot, Elia Viviani. And into the final lap now, Alvaro Navas will get the bell first, but the stronger legs down the back straight, it's going to be Ilya Safakin. So Safakin will come away with gold in the men's elimination. Too strong in the end. Great tactical ride throughout, and then able to finish it off with that extra bit of power that he was able to possess. kept that hidden as much as he could throughout the race to unleash it when it really counted. Alvaro Navas from Spain. Second place for him ahead of Matteo Fiorin. So Elia Viviani, as I mentioned, three-time world champion. His last race at the elite level was at the World Championships last year in Santiago, Chile, and he went out by winning gold again in the men's elimination. Just the incredible way. He won the first two editions. He was on the podium for the next two, and then went into retirement as a World Championship gold medalist. This time, it's Ilya Safikin. Let's see what he can do at the World Championships if he does go later this year. That was a good ride. Wonderful also to see everyone stay upright, because there are often touches of wheels in the eliminations. You see Vogel there at the bottom, absolutely livid with himself for being eliminated. Still a few more bunch races for Alex Vogel to try and get some redemption. Grant Kuntz went off the front for a little bit, got caught out underneath though. That time it was the top of the track, Ausen in the lime green colours. That was goodbye for Grant. Hoppersack was the next to go. Then it was Keegan Hornblow, down to 4, no, down to 3. Fiorin with the bronze medal. Safikin comes away with gold in the men's elimination. Confirmation ahead of Alvaro Navas, Matteo Fiorin, Keegan Hornblow with 4th place for New Zealand, ahead of Vincent Hoppersack. As we go further down, the big surprise, the one that bounces off the page there for me, Roger Kluger in 14th place, of course. And we saw those first couple of eliminations very early on. So a good start for the endurance riders having the eliminations. Now we'll go to the men's team sprint first round. We saw the women come out onto the track. Now it's the time of the men. The most powerful riders, the fastest sprinters in cycling, the male sprinters. So Italy versus Canada to kick things off. First round. Canadians are the Pan American champions. Italy were the 4th fastest qualifiers this afternoon. 43.3 versus Canada 43.6. Super tight between these two. So Stefano Minuta, Daniele Napolitano, Mattia Perdomo up against the Pan American champions of Cole Dempster, Tyler Rourke and James Hedcock. Minuta versus Dempster, the two starters, position number 1. So we'll see who can get the best out of the blocks. Super tight, 3/10 between these two, 4th and 5th in qualifying. Winners to progress. 45 seconds as the Canadians still struggling to just get that first bike into the start blocks, but the countdown has started. It does start with 50 seconds. So just a little bit of messing around here for Cole Dempster. Sorted now. 15 seconds to go. Has to quickly refocus, reset, get ready for the crucial start. Men's team sprint, first heat, first round. Winner to go through to race for the medals. Left-hand side is Stefano Minuta versus Cole Dempster from Canada. Good solid start. The Italians well and truly out in front. They were Only slightly quicker in the qualifying, but already half a second. So lightning fast first start for Italy. They were super quick over the first lap as well. Minuto's so fast in Hong Kong last week, and that continues. Now the time starts to come down. Canada really coming back. Rourke versus Napolitano. Now it's Perdomo and Hedgecock. And it has come right back. So James Hedgecock absolutely flying around the track here in Nilai, trying to get over the top of Matteo Perdomo. And as they come down to the finishing straight, Italians hold on, so it goes back out again. So James Hedgecock was right there within striking distance, wasn't able to finish it off the Pan American champions, and Italy will get the win. So great start from Italy, come back, fight back through the middle of that one for Canada. Just weren't able to finish it off though for James Hedgecock. Matteo Perdomo, super rapid in that final lap. There's James, unleashed for the final lap. It's so hard in third position. 3 laps every time you come onto the track. But good win there for Italy. China versus Kazakhstan this time. Third fastest versus 6th fastest. China in qualifying, 43.233. Kazakhstan, 44.3. So just over a second the difference between them. Just an indication of the speed. So for China, for average speed, standing start over 3 laps, 62.4. So they're hitting mid-70s when they're up to top speed. Chayakmatov, Rezanov and Kadidi for Kazakhstan. Chayakmatov will get them underway. For China, Zhang, Zi, Li and Huan. So Jin Ziheng starts for China. Some great stories for China in the team pursuits. They're not too far away as well, the finals of the TP. And Chinese endurance riders been riding wonderfully well. So China versus Kazakhstan. This is heat 2. We still have France versus Thailand and Netherlands versus Korea. 2 more heats after this. Winners only to go through into the race for the medals. (43-2) versus 44-3. Qualifying favours the Chinese by a significant margin. That will grow even more as we go into the next 2 heats as well. But for now, can Kazakhstan cause an upset? Coaches screaming at their athletes as they get going. Jin Ziheng absolutely motoring. So the first lap, see what time he can produce. 17.2, super fast opening lap for China, and almost a second and a half ahead of Kazakhstan. So really trying to prove a point here. China blisteringly fast for the first 2 laps. Gap really blows out to almost 2. So China will get the win here, but it's all about the time. They want to be in the top 2 winning times. They qualified 3rd fastest. They need to improve if they want to race for gold. And a 43.0. Just over 2/10 quicker than they did in qualifying. So it's an improvement. That's a great result. 44.7 for Kazakhstan. They were quite a bit slower. So didn't quite have the optimal ride that they were hoping for to try and improve. Slower for Kazakhstan. It's unusual in the team sprints when you get into the first round for teams to go that much slower. So a little mistake perhaps made by Kazakhstan causing that. But a good result for China. All that power, perfectly timed out of the start gate. So 0.2 of a second quicker over the first lap for Jin. Wonderful start. France versus Thailand now. So the second fastest qualifiers from France, 42.9. Only two teams able to go under 43 seconds in qualifying. That was Netherlands as the quickest, with France second fastest. Florian Grenbo, Sebastian Vigier, and Tom Derache. See Tom Derache at the top of the track in the European colours, so European champions 2026. And the team from Thailand, seventh quickest for them. Pecharat and Jusathwit and Bunma. So 44.4 versus 42.9. Seventh versus second. And the French would be expecting to go into the race for gold and silver, but they have to get the job done without any mistakes. They need to go past faster than 43.0 to guarantee they'll be in the final. Thailand will be looking to try and go quicker than they did in qualifying, so 44.4 is their target, and try and get into the 43s. Florian Grenbo, maximum effort. Pecharat on the other side of the track. The French are so well tuned in for team sprinting. Already 0.8 of a second for the first half lap. Finished the first lap and it goes out even more. So 17.2, that's the second quickest opening lap that we've seen, behind China, in front of Italy. Still wait for Netherlands to come. So comfortably out in front for France. 43.0 is the time they need to beat to guarantee they'll be racing for gold or silver. Still have Netherlands to come in the final heat. And France will come through with a 43.1, so they've gone slower than China. So they'll nervously wait to see what Netherlands can do now. So France may have missed their opportunity to be racing for gold and silver. At the moment, second fastest with one heat still to come. But I do feel France may have missed the boat. They might be racing for the bronze. We'll wait and see what happens in this final heat to come. Well, well, well. Such a short race, but so much can happen. Fastest through the first lap and the second. Dropped to second quickest when they got to the final lap, though, compared to China. So Netherlands versus Korea now. And Thailand with a 44.6, so they were not able to replicate what they did in the qualifying. France also a little bit slower, so they'll be disappointed with that. 0.3 of a second slower than what they did in qualifying, and it might cost them a race for gold and silver. So Netherlands coming up onto the track now. Roy Vandenberg, the regular starter, world champion, straps himself into the bike, and Harry Levreisen, 20 times a world champion across all of the different sprint disciplines. So the greatest of all time will be the second rider for Netherlands, and Tiemann van Loon is the next rider, finishing them off. The other side of the track is Korea. Jisuk Oh, Teo Choi and Hojin Young. So Korea versus Netherlands. Two of the world champions from Santiago, Chile last year, and they'll be finished off the final lap by Tiemann van Loon. They were disappointed with their result last week in Hong Kong, looking to rectify that. The fastest qualifiers, Netherlands, with the world champions. Up against Korea on the other side. And Roy Vandenberg, he's done this so many times before. Ex-BMX star, now world champion, Olympic champion. And a master class as he really bolts around the track here. First lap completed, 17.4. So significantly quicker than Korea. But they need to make sure they continue this on. Super quick in qualifying with a 42.4. Need to stay into the 43s if they want to guarantee a race for gold and silver. Harry Levrason has done his lap, often the fastest second lap you'll ever see, coming from the superstar in Levrason. And Van Loon decelerating as he comes up to the line. You can see him really labouring with a 43.8. So that is an incredible upset. They get the win against Korea, but that means they are not racing for gold and silver. So two of the world champions from last year in Vandenberg and Levrason will not be racing in the gold medal race here in Nilai. So that is an upset of short sorts. Korea with a 45.3. Let's compare how they went this afternoon, 44.7. So a lot slower for Korea as well. So some interesting times coming through the first round and some very intriguing results. So that was 1.4 seconds slower for Netherlands, and you can see how far Van Loon is off the back of Levrason. So basically, for the full 3 laps, he was out of the slipstream and just doing it all into the wind, and that's why that last half lap was so much slower than it normally would be for Tiemann. And I certainly don't envy him. You've got Vandenberg and Levrason, the two riders in front of him, the world champions, the Olympic champions, to try and get off the start line with those guys and stay comfortable in the slipstream of Harry Levrason. That is extraordinarily difficult to do. So Italy will be racing China for gold. France will be up against Netherlands for bronze. So some interesting results here at the opening of the program. First night here in Nilai, UCI Track World Cup. Fascinating final to come. Women's team pursuit finals coming up now. I hope you're enjoying the coverage, no matter where you are around the world. Even Lynn Nguyen is tuning in back in Australia, enjoying watching cycling. I can tell you she's much more of a golfer than a cyclist, but she enjoys watching it. So the Netherlands versus Belgium. What a showdown. This is the race for the bronze. And Netherlands versus Belgium, they are close friends in terms of cycling rivals, the two nations, sharing a border, of course, sharing a language. Well, the Belgians do actually have half the country speaking French, but Flemish for both, Dutch, different dialects, but very similar. And what a lineup we have. Lisa van Bel, Lorena Wiebes, superstar from the Netherlands, Danneke Hengeveld and Meike van der Duwen, riding for the Netherlands in the final 15 seconds. Caitlin de Klerk, Helena Hesters, Marith Vanhoven and Luca Viesterata from Belgium. And we get underway. Women's team pursuit. This is the race for the bronze medal. So good to see Lorena Wiebes here. She's been at the last 2 World Track Championships. She won the scratch race back in 2024. She doubled up by going back-to-back last year in Santiago. And then she also won the Omnium. Had a nasty crash in the women's Madison, but was okay in the end. And to see her here in the women's team pursuit team for the Netherlands, it really does bolster their chances as they go forward and look towards the Olympic Games. So this road superstar, winner of Milan-San Remo last year. She's won the Gent-Wevelgem 3 times in a row. So that's Lorena Wiebes riding for the Netherlands. As they come through, a little bit of work for them to do though, as Belgium, 1 second advantage to them. Fairly young team on the other side of the track for Belgium. De Klerk, 24. Hester's only 21. She got a bronze medal at the Worlds last year in the elimination. And she rides for the Liv Alula Jayco team on the road. Shout out to that Aussie registered team. Van Hove is 23. And 19-year-old sensation, Vierstrijter. So still only 1 second. Plenty of room now for the Netherlands to try and bring this one back, as Belgium, the slower of the two nations in qualifying, seem to be trying to put this one right to the Netherlands. Now it comes back a little bit. Belgium down to 3. 16 laps of the track. We haven't quite got to the halfway point, so this could be really dangerous now for Belgium. You'll often see the teams go down to 3, but this is very early for them to be down to 3 riders. And you can see the difference as the gap is starting to come right back down to 0.3 of a second, and the Netherlands are starting to get within reach of this bronze medal. Van Belle, Wiebes, Hengeveld and Van der Duwen still at 0.3. Orange helmet, that's Lorena Wiebes. Now in the qualifying, when she got on the front, it was quite extraordinary how much extra power that she was able to put through the pedals. And Belgium just holding on, just over 1/10 of a second now. Still there. Belgium down, Netherlands down to 3 now as Wiebes goes onto the front. Can she start to bring this back? Belgium really holding on. It did look like Netherlands were going to come down through and over the top, but Belgium doing a great job. It's Wiebes on the front of the team from the Netherlands, but they're not able to really bring this one back just yet. And they'll come around to get 4 laps to go into the final kilometre, and now it switches. Green going to Netherlands. Belgium have done a great job to this point, but it's Lorena Wiebes that has put the Netherlands in front. She swings up, 3-rider turn. It's a little bit different to the 4 riders that they are used to, but she's back onto the wheel okay, and the gap goes out to almost 1 second. 3rd rider for Belgium just starting to look a little bit ragged. And now the gap is really starting to blow up. Belgium were fighting hard to try and maintain this pace. And you can hear a screech as the 3rd rider from Belgium yelled out, letting them know that she is in trouble. Time taken on the 3rd rider, of course. So there's no point in riding off on your 3rd rider. Slow down, let them get back on. It's so hard when the legs have blown, though. So it's going to be a bronze medal next time around for Netherlands. They can see Belgium out in front really struggling as they've started to blow apart. And as good as Netherlands has been throughout so many sports within, or disciplines within cycling, team pursuit in the women's side of things is where they have lacked a little bit. So it's great to see them on the podium. Bronze for the Netherlands this time in Malaysia. And a 4:12.1, good result from them. Close race for most of it until Belgium started to unravel. So a 4:19 to finish in 4th place, but Netherlands take the bronze. A sign of things to come for the ladies in orange. The Dutch sprint program has absolutely dominated over the last decade or so. Men's program in particular. So good to see the Dutch women getting a good result onto the podium here at a Track World Cup. It was very early for Belgium to go down to 3. Certainly not unusual. If you know your track cycling and your team shooting, you'll typically always see teams go down to 3, but when it's so early, it just puts so much more pressure on their 3rd rider. If they do make a mistake, you see what happens. Just losing contact those last few laps, and then the gap just completely blows out. So New Zealand versus China. Silver medalists from the Olympic Games in Paris 2024, New Zealand. Some of their riders from that squad. So Bronnie Botha and Emily Shearman. They were in that silver medal winning team from Paris. And this time they're joined by Samantha Donnelly and Prudence Fowler. And China has been a real story. I mentioned this in Hong Kong last week. They are the Asian champions. They've broken national records in both men's and women's team pursuits in recent times at the Asian Championships in Philippines. Bryony Botha on the other side of the track for New Zealand, the fastest qualifiers. But China have not won a medal at World Cup, World Championship level since 2020. So this has been an outstanding step up for the team from China. Guaranteed a medal, gold or silver, we'll wait to see. New Zealand versus China. New Zealanders, gold last week in Hong Kong. China were fourth in Hong Kong last week, up against the gold medalists from a week ago. But every time the Chinese team get on the track, they tend to step up. Their coach, Boris Clark, appointed coach last year, the young New Zealander. So he's done a wonderful job getting the Chinese team up and going, both men's and women's. So a quick start from China, 0.7 a second up on New Zealand. Such a well-drilled outfit, New Zealand. They rode 4:10 in the first round. So third race for the ladies in the team pursuit today. Same for the men when we see them come onto the track as well. China 4:11.8, New Zealand 4:10.8. So there's only 1 second between them in the first round. And this is also very early for New Zealand to go down to 3 riders, so this could be a big advantage for China. Only 1 second between them in that first round. They still hold the lead, just under 1 second. Both teams significantly stepped up from the qualifying times, both improving around about 4 seconds to what they did in the qualifying before they rode the first round. And that wasn't that long ago, the first round. So you can imagine how tired they're already getting. Now they have to step up and try and ride the best they've done all day. So difficult to do that, back up, race after race. New Zealand get themselves in front, but down to 3 riders. No mistakes can happen for them from now on. They'll come around this time to the halfway point. And only just on 0.4 of a second. Continues around that 0.4 of a second mark. China holding on. New Zealand with the experience. Bryony Botha in particular. She has been such a strong member of this team. Status quo, hovering around that 0.3, 0.4 mark. Similar once again. So both teams down to 3 riders now. Has China been able to take advantage of New Zealand being down to 3 so early on in this final? The race for gold and silver in the women's team pursuit. And the new kids on the block for China. They were 4th last week, just missing out on the medals, but it's been 6 years since they've been on a podium at World Cup level. And they are still within reach. New Zealand need to keep it together. Looking a little bit ragged, their 3rd rider. Might be just the extra speed they were able to put down, the Kiwis, because they've gone out to 0.6. Oh, and now it goes out a little bit more. So it's Bryony Botha that's doing all the damage. They've put the strong rider on the front at the very end here to really squeeze the Chinese on the other side of the track. And it goes over 1 second for the first time since the very start of this team pursuit final. And the silver medalists from Paris a couple of years ago look as if they're going to hold on here to win gold in Hong Kong. They picked up gold in Hong Kong last week, I should say. Gold here in Nilai, Malaysia, 1 week apart, and their form continues. The best on the track from New Zealand. The Silver Fern comes through to win the gold in the women's team pursuit. Solid time before 11.4. And China back onto the podium at World Cup level for the first time in 6 years. So resurgence of form for the Chinese endurance squad. And well done to all the Kiwis. Once again, winning gold in the team pursuit. Bronnie Botha, she was the difference in the end. Really did bring it home. Didn't quite get a glimpse of Boris Clark, as I mentioned, the coach of the Chinese team. But whenever we do see him, he might be out again for the men's team pursuit. He does have bleached hair, and I only point that out because I did ask him why, not to be the fashion police. However, he did say it was a bet that he had with the Chinese teams in the Asian Championships in the Philippines a few weeks back. He said if they were to do well, which they did, they won, then he was going to bleach his hair. So that's the significance of the national coach of China going down to the hair salon. So they've done very, very well. Silver medal for them this time. Not to get over the top, though, of New Zealand. They've been such a strong force.
We have result and later interview.
So once again, New Zealand on the top step. If they're not on the top step, they're nearby on the podium. So New Zealand ahead of China, Netherlands. The new Netherlands team with Lorena Wiebes in the mix. Belgium in 4th place ahead of Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Poland, Italy and Chile.
Okay, 10 seconds.
So great result for them. But we do have our first interview of the night with our first champion that we've seen on the track. So let's go down to the infield and hear from our first winner here in Nilai.
Go interview. Kyo.
Hi Ilya, congratulations on the wins. Maybe you can share a little bit about the race just now.
Просто расскажи свои ощущения от победы.
Я очень рад победить здесь. Это очень важная гонка для меня, важная победа. Она поможет мне квалифицироваться на чемпионат мира. Я очень счастлив.
It's a very important victory for me. It's the first time when I won a World Cup. So, and I hope all these UCI points help me to qualify into the World Champ. And next step, it's for sure Olympic Games.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that last lap against Spain.
Последний круг. Ну, что ты чувствовал на последнем круге, да? Как последний круг прошел?
Я чувствовал жжение в ногах, было очень трудно, но мне пришлось сильно перетерпеть, и это позволило мне выиграть.
I felt big pain in my legs, but my strong character helped me to win this medal.
Last one, maybe what's for you after this? What's for you after this win? What's for you after this? Maybe one more tournament?
One more, what?
Maybe more tournaments that you want to win after this?
Что ты еще там хочешь выиграть или там какие-то такие комментарии?
Я очень хочу выступить на чемпионате мира и побороться за майку чемпиона мира. Это моя мечта.
So main goal it's to win a world champion jersey. So this is a main goal for this year for the world championship in China.
Thank you so much, Ilya. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. 5 or time.
Well, a wonderful result there for Ilya Safikin to win the elimination. There's no luck involved in that. You have to be such a talented athlete, as all of them are, but the elimination in particular, it just takes so much race craft as well as strength and speed. So to get the win there is a wonderful result for Safikin. New Zealand ladies, they've done this many times. Into the finals and coming away with the gold here in Nilai, Malaysia. It's round 3, the final round of the UCI Track World Cup. The wonderful national costumes and dresses of the locals here, as you can see in the background. Had the opening ceremony before the coverage started tonight. It was really wonderful to watch. First of our medal ceremonies to kick off the first night here. A moment for Ia to really celebrate and soak it in. And you can tell that he's done a lot of training with the helmet strap tan, the signature of a professional cyclist, the helmet strap tan, the glove tan as well, of course, as we all know, the arms and the sleeves and the shorts tan line. It's also known in some places as a farmer's tan for the farmers that are out in the fields in short sleeves and shorts. Bronze medal this week for Matteo, gold last week, so showing some good consistency in the elimination. Leila da Silva just off to the side there, one of the UCI or the International Cycling Union representatives here, making sure the World Cups are run to the standard that the UCI would expect. So Leila getting the presentations away. And the president of the Malaysian Cycling Federation coming up to award the medals. Bronze medal to Italy. Matteo Fiorin. It's his time to shine. I did mention Elia Viviani, the dominant force in the men's elimination since it came into the World Championships. We've only had 5 editions. He's won 3 of them. So maybe Fiorin can do that as we go towards Shanghai World Championships later this year. Alvaro Naves from Spain with the silver. Spain has a wonderful history of endurance athletes. Madison, points race, Omnium champions that have come before. The current world Omnium champion, Albert Torres. Certainly one that stands out. But the gold medal this time to Ia Sevikin. So the men's elimination, our first medal ceremony for the first of 3 nights of competition here in Nilai, Malaysia. Sevikin, Navas and Fiorin. Matteo perhaps winning the smile competition, despite not defending his win from Hong Kong last week. Mad dash at the start until we came down to the final 3, as Matteo picked up the bronze, but it was the gold medal. Neutral colours of Safikin. Jam-packed in the inside of the track here. As always, the World Cups, World Championships level, there's just so many staff, so many riders, etc., and it's really difficult to squeeze them all into the track at the same time. Remember the Super Worlds in Glasgow 2023, the first time all of the UCI disciplines came together. They had an extra area outside the track. It was still undercover, but in another room next to the velodrome, where they had all the teams set up, and they were limited to how many riders could come in because they also had the para-cyclists in there as well. So there was just so many more riders than they normally have at a World Championships. So Hetty van der Waal getting ready for the team sprint coming up. They'll be racing against China. Bronze medal up first, Mexico versus Poland. And then China versus Netherlands for the race for gold. Pan American champions coming up onto the track now. Women's team sprint, race for bronze, Mexico versus Poland. Mexico 47.2 versus Poland 47.6. That was in the first round that we just saw, kicking off the first night of competition here tonight, the broadcast. So Mexico lining up in the front straight as the faster team coming through the first round. 0.4 of a second separated them. Marlena Kawaka getting herself sorted into the start gate for Poland. Daniela Gasiola doing likewise for Mexico. Not here this week, but Daniela's sister is a good endurance rider, and from my knowledge, the most followed female cyclist in the world. Certainly the most followed track cyclist, with over 1 million followers on social media, on Instagram in particular. So Latin America, South Americans absolutely loving following her, and her sister now, Daniela, ready to go. Bronze medal is on the cards here. The Pan American champions versus Poland. And Poland have really stepped up from last week in Hong Kong. Kawaka, Cermak and Sibiak. Marlena Kawaka to get them underway. Daniela Gasiola, Yuli Verdugo and Maria Vizcaino. So the Mexican team. Slight favourites here, Mexico. You have to get it right in the final. Race for bronze, women's team sprint. Mexico versus Poland. Good start from both. No issues whatsoever. So Poland the quicker of the two at the first half lap. So Mexico might be the favourite on paper, but they have to produce on the track. And Poland still with 0.3 of a second, almost 0.4 of a second advantage after the first lap. And that's around the same as they go down towards the 2/3 point as the second rider for each team swings up, and Mexico with a little bit of work to do, but they're starting to come back. So Mexico fighting back after a slower start. And the Pan American champions now go into the bronze medal position. Should be able to finish it off from there with the extra speed as they come down to the line, and Mexico will take the bronze. 47.4, 0.2 of a second was the winning margin. So the Pan American champions win bronze in the women's team sprint here in Malaysia. Well, nervous moments for the Mexican coaching staff. A lot slower to start with, but they were able to really bring that one home. So Gazziola doing the job perfectly well. So the first of our women's medals have been confirmed. Bronze going to Mexico. Such a good mix of nationalities and countries. They did have Daniela Gazziola in the first race as the third rider. She started that time around, so she was the one that they had her on the list as the starter, but she was the third rider that time around. So slightly change to the start list that they had. You have up until 30 minutes before the start to register your riders. Sometimes the start lists come out well and truly before that, and those adjustments aren't made. And if you don't make that adjustment and tell the officials which order they'll be in, then there is a fine that comes to them in Swiss francs. Now it's the race for gold and silver. China versus Netherlands. Netherlands are the world champions, but China were faster in the previous round. So the world champions looking to redeem themselves. Second quickest coming into this round. A little bit of work to do because they've seen just how fast China have been able to go. They've utilised 4 riders, Lau, Yuan, Zhu and Wang, whereas Netherlands, only the 3 that they've used through all of the rounds. Kaylee comes through with the second quickest time for the Netherlands. So China out in front in the gold medal position. Van der Waal and Van der Peet to finish things off in the rainbow bands, though they need to do something special to bring it home, and at the moment it's not happening as China are out in front, almost 0.4 ahead of the world champions down the back straight, and China fighting to try and hold on. They're actually extending the lead, and it's going to be our first big upset here as China come through with a win over the top of the world champions. 46.0, sensational time to win gold for China. The world champions, silver this time around. It's an improvement from where they were last week. So still trying to build themselves up perhaps towards the world championships later this year. But China, well, the world championships are on their home track in Shanghai. So they are getting inspired by the performances they've been able to put down on the boards here at the Track World Cup. So into the medals in the women's team pursuit, silver, gold in the women's team sprint. They are a force to be reckoned with, the Chinese national program. We can see the team from the Netherlands getting themselves ready for the women's team pursuit presentation that's up next. They just witnessed their teammates. Not in the orange this time, but in the rainbow band, signifying winning the World Championships in Santiago, Chile in October last year. Shows you how competitive women's track cycling is. The world champions never really in it versus China. You look at the winning margin, it doesn't seem like much, but in a team sprint, that's quite significant. Lisa Van Belle. Bronze medal going around her neck in a few moments' time when the presentations for the women's team pursuit are happening. Time to savour the moment, though, to get some pics. National coach there, Nick Stoppler. Getting the hurry up. Let's get to the presentations. Big programs, of course. Rushing around between races and presentations for all of these athletes. And we'll see most of them, or at least some of them again, over the next couple of days. The team sprint and team pursuit riders are spread throughout the Omnium, the Madison events still to come, scratch races, eliminations, of course. But the results, China ahead of Netherlands, Mexico with the bronze medal, Poland finishing 4th this time, significant improvement over last week, and the United States looking to build a team for Los Angeles 2028, so 5th this time in a World Cup, so that's showing some improvement for the USA as well. We see Belgium in 11th place haven't had much depth when it comes to sprinting. So many good endurance riders, obviously road being the prominent and dominant
10
force.
seconds to interview.
But we can hear from some of our champions from earlier tonight. I think it might be the New Zealand team pursuit team. We can go down to the centre and hear from the second winners from the first night here in Nilai.
1, go.
Guys,
And
congratulations on the win. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that final.
Yeah, so we started the day with one of our riders, Prue, at the end there, not feeling too well. She's been sick the past few days, so we had to adjust our strategy a little bit. We ended up putting her in the first wheel, which is not really where she would go, and she just did a kilo from the start, and then us three took it from there. So in the final, we just kind of aimed to do the same thing again, and just to really set up the ride well, and yeah, just end up delivering it and hopefully get the win.
What was the biggest challenge inside the track?
Prue getting sick. Yeah, I think we definitely had to be adaptable today, and I think it really shows the strength of our team and being able to step up to the challenge and be able to do that.
Congratulations. Yep.
3, 2, 1. Gentlemen, can
Netherlands coming up for, they look very happy and chappy, don't they? Bronze medal for them this time. And it's such a good, strong track nation they have been. Haven't been very prominent when it comes to the women's or the men's team pursuits, to be honest. So it's good to see. Great signs for Netherlands. Likewise for China. Silver this time for them in the team sprint. Oh, sorry, in the team pursuit. Gold in the team sprint. Some new rules coming in as well for the UCI, which may affect things a little bit in a positive way as we head towards the next Olympic Games, with some changes and some pricing restrictions coming onto the material in particular. So the bikes, frames, wheels, handlebars, and also the clothing. They're putting restrictions on what each of those items can be worth, and they all must be available for anyone to purchase as well, which has been a controversial conversation previously. So UCI doing some great things to rectify that. May see some changes in which teams are a little bit more dominant as we go forward. Women coming up now for the women's team pursuit medal ceremony. As you can see, all 4 teams using only 4 riders. Not uncommon to see 5 riders or even 6 sometimes used or utilised throughout the rounds. But all 4 being used 3 times today through the qualifying, the first round and the final. Netherlands coming away with the bronze medal this time. Lisa van Bel, Lorena Wiebes, Daniek Hengeveld and Mika van der Duwen. First one to be presented there is Lorena Wiebes, and only represented at the World Championships on the track twice now, and already 3 gold medals in individual events. 2 times the Scratch Race World Champion and also the Omnium last year. So now trying her hand to the team pursuit as well. And that's significant going forward towards the Olympic Games, that if she is a member of the team pursuit for the Netherlands, also the Madison and the Omnium on the cards there in LA 28. China with the silver. So they continue to improve, they continue to impress. Zhenbing Gong, Chen Ning, Wang Zhengyu and Wei Zhuan.
Ladies and gentlemen, in first place, representing New Zealand.
And no strangers to the top step of the podium. They won in Hong Kong last week, and they backed that up this time here in Nilai, Malaysia. New Zealand taking gold in the women's TP. Bryony Botha, Samantha Donnelly, Prudence Fowler and Emily Shearman. Shearman and Botha, already Olympic Games silver medalist in the team pursuit from 2 years ago. Regulars within the Silver Fern outfit. Solid squad, always reliable and dependable. Every time there's a team pursuit at the top level, New Zealand women are there or thereabouts, certainly in the hunt for gold every time they get on the track. Four minutes 11 seconds for the New Zealanders, 4:13.2 for China in the final. And Netherlands going a little bit quicker than what China did. So it just goes to show how important those earlier rounds are to maximise your chance of getting the best medal you can. So they were the second fastest when they got into the final round, Netherlands, but third fastest, or third place for them in the end, because it was New Zealand all the way. Quickest time, gold medal for them, fastest qualifiers. They were the dominant force here in Malaysia. It was a good final. New Zealand down to 3 early. Didn't seem to affect them too much because a 4:11.4 it's a pretty solid time at the end. And we saw when Bronnie Botha did get onto the front, she is the engine room of the Kiwi team, was able to really put the pressure on China and stretch the lead out. So 1.7 seconds was the difference in the end, considering how close it was all the way through. Did blow out in the last 2 laps. Wonderful images here in Nilai. Malaysia won independence from Britain back in 1957. So the 31st of August is Independence Day here, celebrated. They do take on a lot of heritage. I spent a few days here in Kuala Lumpur before coming down to Nilai after coming across from Hong Kong last week, and stayed with a friend of mine, Greg O'Shea, if you're listening. Shout out to Gosha. But yeah, a lot of Western influence, must be said, in the capital at least. It's good to know I was able to get good coffee, being an Australian coffee snob. Men's team pursuit finals now. We saw how the ladies do it. Now it's the time for the men to get onto the track. And the New Zealand team were the fastest qualifiers, but got beaten in the first round by Italy and have not made it, but by France, I should say. They got beaten by France. So it was an upset for the Kiwis after having such a good first ride to not make their way into the race for any of the medals. So that's how tight it is in the men's team pursuit. Italy versus Switzerland for the race for bronze, and then we'll see China once again guaranteed a medal by being in the race for gold and silver. They'll be up against France. So some newcomers to the top placings here in the men's team pursuit. It's great to see the spread of nations is widening. Italy, the Olympic champions back in Tokyo 2020, actually held in 2021, of course. And Francesco Lamont, who's in this team, was in that team, the Olympic champion, but he has 3 fresh-ish faces beside him. Davide Boscaro, Renato Favero, Etienne Grimaud, alongside Francesco Lamont, the former Olympic champion. On the other side of the track for Switzerland, Noah Bogli, Luca Bullmann, is Mats Poot, and also Pascal Tapinier. So it's good to see Switzerland. This is the best result Switzerland has had for a number of years as well. They beat the United States in the first round. They rode 3:51. 2.5 second improvement from the qualifying round for Switzerland. So a significant step up for the Swiss to make their way into the race here for bronze. Men's team pursuit, race for bronze. Italy versus Switzerland. And cautious start from both teams. Always different compared to the team sprinters, how they burst out of the start blocks with maximum effort. Team pursuiters, they still go out pretty hard, I can tell you that. But they have to think about sustaining it for 16 laps of the track. So Lamont that gets them going. The Tokyo Olympic champion leading the way for Italy. He's done that so many times in the past. Stars like Filippo Ganna, Jonathan Milan alongside him previously, looking after the new batch of riders now. Boscaro has been the European team pursuit champion, bronze medalist in the World Championships as well. That was back in 2022 alongside Francesco Lamont, a 25-year-old. So he's been in and out of the team quite a bit, Boscaro. Switzerland, though, doing a better job to get things underway. Noah Bogley, 29, the oldest in the team, Swiss time trial champion back in 2022 on the road, second the year before that. So really good at the longer distances. Continues to show great form here over 4 kilometres. Newcomer to the team, Mats Pooch. He's only 21. So showing good signs for the future for Switzerland as well. Italy edge their way in front. Look at that average speed, 65, touching on 66 k's an hour as they're just humming around the track here at Nilai. Stretching the lead a little bit more now, the Italians, as they've gone through the halfway point. And the red helmet, that's the youngster, Mats Pooch, a 21-year-old, trying to bring it back, and he has. So the youngest of the Swiss team, putting a little bit of pressure on the Italians, starting to bring it back a little bit now, down to 0.2 of a second. And you can hear the scream as Matt swings up and gets out of the way, absolutely emptying the tank for his teammates. Unleashing the Swiss team. Can they bring this one home and come over the top of Italy? Italy down to 3 riders as well as the Olympic champion. Lamont drops out. Fair fight between Italy and Switzerland. 3 riders on both sides of the track and only 0.2 of a second in it. We've seen it so many times at international level when it goes down to 3 and the pressure really comes on. That's when the cracks start to open up. You have to be super cautious now. They're both into the red, and Switzerland perhaps a little bit more so than Italy as they start to get an advantage. And it goes out to over 1 second. So that happened very quickly. It has been so tight for so long, and now already over a second. You can see the Swiss third rider really starting to struggle. So that is going to seal the death knot, I think, for the Swiss team in terms of picking up the bronze medal here, because Italy's staying all together. And the gap is really starting to blow out. There's no way the Swiss can come back from here. Their third rider is way out the back. So the bronze medal is going to go to Italy. They might not realise it just yet, but they can cruise this last lap as they come around here at Nilai, Malaysia. UCI Track World Cup round 3, and they'll be third. A 3:51.9, solid time to finish things off. Good to see Switzerland in the mix, made it into the top 4, and 3:55, not good enough to get a medal. Boscaro, Favreau, Grimaud and Lamont. Bronze for Italy. So a good fight for Switzerland. could just see those last 3 laps, it really just did blow out when their third rider lost contact. They race so on the edge now as well. It's one of the things that's very different to the team pursuit of old, where it used to be 1 or 1.5 laps on the front each, swing up, fairly even amount of times that each rider would do a turn of pace, and perhaps the strongest at the very end might do 2 laps. That's completely changed now. The tactics of each team is all about maximising each rider's ability. And it might be multiple laps on the front by the strongest rider, 3 or 4 laps perhaps. But every rider typically doing at least 2 laps on the front. And because they go so into the red, it just means those last couple of laps, we so often see the third rider completely explode. So good ride for Italy. We move on to the race for gold now. China versus France. And China as the favourites, having the fastest time through the first round. So this is a coming of age for the team from China. It was New Zealand that had the quickest time. China was second fastest in qualifying, but there was 2 seconds the difference between New Zealand and China. And then New Zealand faltering in the first round, being beaten by France. No medal at all for them this time. So France with a huge step up. They increased dramatically from the qualifying round. 350 in the first round, 353 in the qualifying. China versus France, team pursuit final underway. And we haven't said this before at international level, but China in the home straight is the favourites. They have come on strong in recent months in the team pursuit. And France with an extraordinary 3-second improvement from the qualifying to the first round find themselves now in the race for gold and silver. Slightly quicker start for the team from China. Pei, Sun and Wu up against Besnier, Dupe, Petit and Tabillon. Very tight to start things going here. Only a 1/10 of a second between these two. Very, very tight. And we saw a glimpse there of Boris Clark, the national coach of the Chinese team. And France now get themselves in the front. They started in the back straight as the second favourites here, but starting to take a little bit of an advantage. So the French team really starting to show good signs. Third team pursuit race for all of these finalists here on the first day in Nilai. So difficult to back up from race to race. Huge gears that they're using on the bikes these days as well. Massive speeds on the velodrome. So far the French handling themselves a little bit better, but China certainly not out of this. The gap is not growing. They'll come around to get the halfway. And at the moment, it's starting to come back towards China. France still into the green. But China now go in front. Both teams still with 4 riders. So they're managing their resources very well in this final. Inching further away, the Chinese team. France fights back, and they are the first team to go down to 3 now, China. France still with 4 as they go to the back straight. Oh, it's a seesaw battle. France now back into the lead. China down to 3. Changes the way they do their slings or their swings and changes. And it's out to the biggest margin that we've seen. Out to half a second for the French. It has been such a tight race. It is now the furthest that it's been, and it's already starting to come back. So China really fighting back inside the last kilometre. And, well, that's been an extraordinary ride from China to get themselves back into it. It has gone either way here in the final. The men's team pursuit final. 2.5 laps remain. France still out in front. No, it's China once again take the lead. So they're swapping the lead here and they're into the final 2 laps, and it's China that leads through. And it goes out to point 4 in favour of China. The fastest coming to the final. France have really put it to them, and it's also out to half a second. The French in the opposite direction now as they come out the last one. With a huge lot of support here in Malaysia. The crowd up and about. They're absolutely loving this men's team pursuit final. And the biggest margin that we've seen is for China as they come on the final bend. They'll come through to win the team pursuit. And it's an upset of sorts as China take gold here in Malaysia. 2 seconds it blew out to France in the end. But for the first time, China win gold in a World Cup team pursuit final. So history made by the Chinese team. In the year that they hosted the World Championships in Shanghai, October, China are on top. Three minutes 50 seconds for China. The national record was set a month ago on a super fast track in the Philippines, and that's 3:48. So only 2 seconds off their national record. Now I can tell you, 3:48 set their new national record. It was 13 seconds faster than their previous record. So that's the step up that the Chinese team have made in the last 12 months. So now a team that can regularly ride around 350, 351. It's an extraordinary turnaround for the Chinese team. Gold in Malaysia for China in the men's team pursuit ahead of France, Italy and Switzerland. New Zealand, the fastest qualifiers, they walked away scratching their heads after finishing in 5th. Germany, 6th place for them as we go further down. Mexico rounded out the top 15 teams here on the track in Nilai. Well, that was sensational. What a rise. China, 350. And it wasn't 2 seconds, as I said. It was 0.6 in the end. France were pretty good. Well, let's get down to our next winners interview. We can get down to the centre of the track, and it's the women's team sprint team.
Go. Surprise after surprise, and in the final, you beat the world champion. How does it feel beating the world champion here in Nilai?
今天真是一轮又一轮的惊喜，我们在尼莱打败了世界冠军荷兰队，对此你们有什么感受？
对此我觉得首先来到这个场地，然后也很开心吧，能在这个场地骑出这么好的成绩，因为此次成绩也是我们相对来说比较好的一次，然后能在这里取得这么好的成绩，还是非常开心的。
First of all, it's really happy to be in this velodrome. Secondly, for this result, it's kind of like best one in recent times, so we are happy about the result.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what happened on the track against them in the final.
可以帮我们回忆一下具体在决赛轮发生的场上的情况吗？
在决赛轮的话，我们是打算跑一个比较好的成绩的，但是就是想要冲击一下，然后最好成绩吧，还是就是首先还是想我们这个团体配合更好一点吧。
So for the final round, we have 2 goals. First, we have a good cooperation within this format, and secondly, we try to have our best result with this format.
About this win, how all of you guys feel about this win?
在赢下这一场胜利之后，所有人你们有什么感受？
经过这么长时间的付出，我们都感觉到特别激动 ，so exciting， 太开心了。
Everybody is really excited about the result because it's after a long-term effort we finally get it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lots of smiling faces here in Malaysia. The Pan American champions, women's team sprint, Mexico, getting themselves ready to come up onto the presentation dais. The platform is all ready to go for the next of our medal ceremonies. Dress code, zip up, absolutely. The difference in the skin suits between the riders from Mexico, but China, great result, using 4 riders, the Chinese team, as they did last week in Hong Kong as well. So maximising the usage of riders and just showing they have so much depth of talent. And they always have. They've had a very good women's team sprint program over the years. Men certainly play second fiddle to the Chinese women when it comes to the team sprints.
UCI Track World Cup in Nilai, Malaysia. Award ceremony of the women team sprint. Ladies and gentlemen, the medal will be presented by a Vice President UCI.
So the women's team sprint presentations we see on the right-hand side. Third place for Mexico, the Pan American champs. Maria Vizcaino, Yuli Verdugo, and Daniela Gassiola.
In second place, representing Netherlands,
Silver medal for Netherlands, the world champions this time. Kimberly Cayley, Hetty van der Waal and Steffi van der Peet. Steffi in the middle. Bronze medal last week in Hong Kong at the second round of the World Cup. Silver this time. And backing up their gold medal from 1 week ago, China on the top step once again. Lau, Huan, Zhu and Wang. And on the left-hand side there of the four lining up, that's Guan Li. And she is 21 years of age and just a sprint sensation. So she was extraordinary last week, winning the Kirin in Hong Kong. And in fine fashion too, just the strength, the speed that she showed in that Kirin final. So she'll be one to watch as we go into the individual sprint events, the Kirin and the individual sprint itself for the women over the next 2 days. Right next to her is Hetty van der Waal, the world champion in the sprint. And we can expect them to go head-to-head in the coming days. So China win the women's team sprint. Back-to-back World Cup wins for the sprinters from China. Depth of talents coming out of the Chinese sprint program. Fantastic final it was. And even though the world champions were on the track, they were the second favourites to China, who'd been the quicker team throughout. Certainly a fair fight. A lot of respect amongst the riders. Sometimes those rivalries boil over when you get to the sprint and the Kirins with that elbow-to-elbow, shoulder-to-shoulder style of racing, of course. But in the team sprints, the team pursuits, in those events, always a fair fight. Another interview coming up. Chinese men's team. What an extraordinary performance from them.
Guys, very close final against the European giant. How do you guys feel about that race and what actually happened in that race?
首先，决赛轮的成绩，你们和对手的成绩很接近，现在打败了欧锦赛的冠军。你们复盘一下场上到底是发生了什么样的情况和事情？
我们都在共同努力，为了同一个目标去前进。这个冠军来的非常不容易，也是我们中国首次在该项目上夺得世界的最好成绩。
First of all, this victory belongs to the mutual effort in this team, and for this result, we really fight for a long time. And this victory is also the very first time for the men's TP for Chinese team in World Cup.
After going through the finish line, how do you guys feel getting the win?
在冲过终点线之后，大家对于这场胜利有什么样的感受？
Unbelievable.
Maybe last word for your fans from China.
或者有什么想对自己在家乡国家里的粉丝想说的话？
我们正在与世界接轨。
We are going towards to the international level.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great signs for China. Shanghai World Championships in October later this year. And they picked up the win at the Asian Championships as well, in team pursuit. So coming into good form the year that they're hosting the World Championships. New coaches for the Chinese program. They've had Denis Dmitriev looking after the sprinters for a couple of years. But Benoit Vetu has come across, he's a Frenchman that looked after the Japanese team for a number of years. He was, before working for Japan, he was in China, and they brought him back into the Chinese program. He brought in the young New Zealander I mentioned earlier tonight, Boris Clark, who's looking after the endurance riders. Vetu looking after the program total with Dmitriev. And those three coaches combining incredibly well in such a short space of time. They only came on towards the end of last year as coaches. So it's doing well now for China. We go to the medal ceremony now for the men's team pursuit. Francesco Lamon leads them up, the Olympic champion.
Award ceremony of the men's team first.
So the lineup, Italy, bronze medal for them in the men's TP team pursuit.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Davide Boscaro,
presented by Yamamaya
Renato Favero, Etienne Grimaud and Francesco Lamont. The Olympic champ on the far right-hand side, the shortest of the three.
And riders, Boscaro Demi, Favero Renato, Grimaud, and
All of his teammates from the Olympic Games Tokyo going on to have very successful road careers. Francesco not quite at that level in terms of a road rider, but such a good first rider for the team pursuit for Italy. World champion, Olympic champion, and now a bronze medal. Once again with a new look outfit with Boscaro, Favero. Now, Boscaro himself, also world champion back in 2022. So he's been in and out of the team. And now Favero and Grimaud joining them.
in second place, representing France.
Good fight back for France after the qualifying. They really did improve in the first round, taking down the fastest qualifiers, New Zealand, and eventually made their way through to the big final, finishing in second place. Erwin Besnaer, Mathieu Dupe, Clément Petit, and Valentin Tabillon. Also Oscar Nielsen Julien, the fifth rider that was also used. Interesting background for Nielsen Julien, actually born
And in the first race,
in the UK. And then switch from GB across to France. But it was China that came away on top. First time we've seen them at World Cup level on the top step of a team pursuit podium for the men. So extraordinary performance from them. Pai Zhengyu, Sun Heizhao, Sun Weitao, who I have to shout out to Sun Weitao. He didn't ride in Hong Kong last week because he was still recovering after getting hit by a car out training. So good to see that he's back up and going well. And Wu Junji alongside him. We also had Li also in the mix, the fifth rider that they used throughout the platform. So good to see Wen Tao after getting hit by a car. Stay safe on the roads, everybody. If you're driving a car, look out for the cyclists, the pedestrians, everybody else that's out there. We're all road users trying to go about our business. French lads look happy to be up there in second place. Perhaps not quite as happy as these lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, please one more time applaud for our medalists from Italy, France, and China.
Men's team pursuit, China taking gold ahead of France and Italy. So France and Italy, if you go way back through the World Championships records, the Olympic Games, they were two of the most dominant countries if you go way back through the history books. And China, the new kids on the block. I cannot wait till Shanghai and the World Championships on the track later this year to see if they can remain right up there in the medals. Australia, Great Britain, Denmark, three nations not here in Malaysia that will certainly be trying to knock them off the top. But on a home track, what can we expect from these five? A few good riders amongst them for the next couple of days as well. Madison and Omnium still to come. Wu Junji, we saw him putting in some reasonable results. And there's Boris Clark. I've mentioned his name a couple of times tonight. The bleach blonde hair, part of the bet from the team after winning the Asian Championships. And from the timed events, we go to a bunch race now. The women's elimination now coming up onto the track. We saw the men earlier on the night. Now it's the time for the women to come up and have their elimination. If you weren't tuned in when the men's race was on, I'll go through the details of this one. I'll have one neutral lap to start with. And then the last rider across the line, every second lap is eliminated, right down to the final two, and they sprint for the win. So in every second lap, it's the back wheel of the last rider across the line that is eliminated. And in the very last sprint between the two riders, we go to the traditional first to the line scenario, not the back wheel for the last two. It's whoever gets to the line first becomes the winner. There are other ways to get eliminated. If you go on the big blue band, the light blue band at the bottom of the track to improve your position, that will see you taken out of the race. Or if you force your way through and try and push someone out of the way to improve your position, if the commissaires see that, that'll be seen as an infringement and he'll also be taken out. Sometimes they don't see it, but they do cast a very keen eye over the peloton. Three ways to get yourself eliminated. If there is a mishap, a crash or a puncture, a flat tyre, then they will neutralise the race to allow any riders that have been impeded to get back into the race. Nur Mohammed from Malaysia coming up onto the track, and that's why you might hear in the background the crowd getting excited. You see a rider on her home track, Nur Asaya Mohammad. So number 304, the black colours, black and yellow of Malaysia. Li Xingwing in the light blue colours there from Hong Kong. She picked up silver last week in the elimination, and it was behind that rider from Norway. So Anita Stenberg, the 33-year-old from Norway. She also raced the Omnium last week, Anita. Didn't have a great race, though, by her standards. She's been a medalist at the World Championship level in that discipline, but win last week in the elimination, so she'll be confident this time around. Olivia Belasaita from Lithuania. Standout colours, the Lithuanian skin suit. Anita Baimer from Italy on the top left there, top of the track. Behind her is Lorena Lu from Switzerland. So Baimer leads the way. Down the bottom of the track, though, keep an eye out for Yareli Acevedo in the green colours. So Mexico. So we haven't seen the Mexican colours yet tonight because the women's team sprint team were in the Pan American colours. And the crowd really up and about because the Malaysian rider has gone straight to the front of the peloton, and we are underway. Women's elimination. Last rider across the line every 2 laps will be eliminated. And thankfully, Mohammad is on the front, so she will not be the first one to go, the Malaysian. Let's see how far she can get into the race, or can she get into the medals? That would be wonderful. Malis Mejas from Cuba. But down the bottom could be dangerous. Belgium stuck right down the very bottom. Oh, that was really tight. I'll wait for the call. It was the Belgian. So Catherine de Klerk. Catherine de Klerk, the first one to go. Typically good bunch race riders, the Belgians, so she'll be disappointed with that one, Catherine. Lily Plante from Canada now, last position. Has she got the speed? She doesn't. So Lily, the next one now.
310 Canada.
So if you're high on the track coming around the final bend, you do get an enormous amount of downhill run to the line. That extra speed often enables the rider to get over the top and stay in the elimination, but it does cost you a lot of energy. You see Acevedo in the green colours of Mexico, points race world champion last year. She'll make sure that she's out of the race, but Malaysia at the very back on the inside now could be in trouble. And there was a big cheer from the crowd.
Malaysia.
And that'll be some disappointment for him this time. So Mohammad is out of the race. So difficult to navigate an elimination race. Mejas from Cuba, still in trouble. But this is extraordinary because the world champion just gets herself into the race. Stays back in. So Lara Gillespie, the world champion, there she is up around the top. She didn't race in Hong Kong, so great to have Lara Gillespie here. So the elimination world champ from Santiago last year. And you could see that when she realised she was down the bottom, backpedaled to go out the back and then sprint up around the outside. She could see early on in that elimination lap she was in trouble, so made good position to stay in. Good racing from Gillespie. So Mejas from Cuba has gone. Next one will be... It is Putri, number 322. Indonesia. So Andini Putri from Indonesia. Who's down the back this time? Oh, Anita Stenberg in second last position. Oh, Mejas from Cuba is still there. So she's at the back. Stenberg from Norway keeps herself in. And this time it is the Cuban.
303.
South America losing riders, and Mexico in a bit of trouble here. The World Points Race champion, Acevedo, she has the speed to go up over the top. And you can see just trying to box the rider on the inside of her out, just to try and force the issue. It will be down the bottom, I think. It is. Tatiana Yashenko from Ukraine. Gillespie towards the front, making sure she's out of danger, but she's also pushing into the winds on the outside there in the rainbow bands. That's costing her a little bit of energy. Acevedo, ooh, flick of the wheel there to keep herself in. So Bulgaria, Lucy Nelson. And you notice when Lucy came across the line, she looked over her shoulder just to make sure she was the last rider. Never a good sign. Too late then. Need to be really focused on where you are in the bunch with a lap to go in these elimination laps. Belasaita down the bottom in a bit of trouble. The multicoloured, attractive skin suit of Lithuania, but perhaps right down the very bottom.
China, 314, China. 314, China.
So Mengan Zhao, she hasn't quite heard it yet. She thinks she's still in. So they have gone for the bell for the next elimination lap. But because Zhao has stayed in, I don't think they'll do an elimination this time. So they're all fighting for the elimination, but they've put up the yellow flag. When they come across the line, you see the race official at the bottom. There it is, yellow flag, just letting everyone know the race was neutralised through that elimination lap. No one will be out. They have to make sure Zhao comes off the track before they resume the racing. And she has been given the sign. She now knows. So Zhao from China is out. It's given them an extra lap to recover a little bit as we get back going again. Well done from the commissaires. Stenberg. She did this last week. Won the elimination, but so many of the elimination laps, she was at the back, just picking riders off, sprinting each time to stay in. And now finally we get back into another elimination lap. So Stenberg up around the outside. Li Ziwing from Hong Kong in the light blue colours, high on the track, should be able to stay in, second last week, and she will. I think Uzbekistan. It was Kozieva. So stuck in the middle, probably feeling as if her legs were good enough to continue, but couldn't make the position. Lorena Lu from Switzerland, out of the saddle, sprinting to come up around. Brabazniska from Poland is the one in the middle in the red and white. So Poland it is. Elisa is gone.
407, Poland.
So a few of the favourites still here. The world champion, Lara Gillespie, remains. The gold medalist from last week in Anita Stenberg from Norway. Also second in the light blue colours. So there's gold and silver from last week. Hong Kong and Norway both will stay in. Belasaita from Lithuania, perhaps, or maybe.
Singapore, 340, Singapore.
So Singapore right down the bottom. So Liao, Elizabeth Liao from Singapore. Emma Jimenez from the USA, high on the track. She'll get the extra run down the banking, and that will keep her in. Belasaita from Lithuania. It was down in the middle. So Olivia Belasaita. So a real rush home there from Jimenez, USA. She's gone straight to the front as well. So big sprint to stay in, but now she's on the front, she's pushing the wind, so that'll cost her still a little bit of energy. Lorena Liu over the top. Chiro from France, high on the track, orange helmet. And you can see the damage that Emma Jimenez was done. I mentioned that. She sprinted to stay in, then went to the front, straight into the wind, and was gobbled up by the field. And she's the next one gone. Chewed up and spat out from the USA. Just a check of proceedings there from Gillespie from Ireland in the rainbow bands as world champion. Another world champion, currently points race world champ, Acevedo. The green colours of Mexico this time. Valgonen keeps herself in.
316 France. 316 France.
Clemence Chiro. Next one out, representing France. So Acevedo, Stenberg, Lee, the last three riders. Well credentialed, all three. Lee Z-Wing, dangerous position. She can get the speed here. There are riders down the bottom she can take out of this. Oh, she just gets through, I think. Lorena Liu from Switzerland. So Hong Kong survive in the light blue colours. She was second last week. And Lorena Liu is the one down the bottom with nowhere to go. So Valgonen, Acevedo, Gillespie, Bijma, Stenberg, Lee, and Van der Duyn from Netherlands in the orange colours. It's going to have to be a real acceleration here from Lee Z-Wing. She was second last week, but she's out this time.
320. Hong Kong 320.
So seventh place for Lee, still respectful. Silver medal last week, seventh this time, so really good competitive riding from her. Valgonen goes through underneath, wants to make sure she stays in. Anita Bijma from Italy out of the saddle. She has Gillespie, the world champion, in front of her. If she has the acceleration, she can put Van der Duyn in trouble down the bottom, but I don't think she has what she needs. Just misses out.
Italy 325. Italy.
So sixth place for Anita Bijma. But Maker Van der Duyn was so close to being eliminated then for the Netherlands in the orange colours, stuck on the inside. Gillespie, she might be boxed in now. She needs to be careful, the world champion. Stenberg goes to the front. Then it's Gillespie, Valgonen, Van der Duyn, and Acevedo from Mexico. So she has the strength to come up to the shoulder there of Van der Duyn. Van der Duyn unable to accelerate on the inside, so she's the next one out. Michael finishes fifth for Netherlands. Down to the final four. One more to come out before the medals. Stenberg for Norway. The world champion from Ireland, Laura Gillespie. Valerie Valgonen in the light blue colours. And for Mexico, diving underneath, Yareli Acevedo. So that puts Valgonen in some trouble here. Final elimination before the medals. Valgonen dives through underneath and Gillespie's desperate to stay in. Oh, that was tight. Smart move from Valgonen, but she was unable to keep herself into the race, and Laura Gillespie got the shock of her life to see Valgonen on the inside there. Absolute scramble out of the seat for the world champ. So we're down to our medalists now. Last week's winner, Anita Stenberg, the 33-year-old from Norway. It's Gillespie in the dangerous position. The world champion has to get over the world points race champion to stay in this one. And the Irish lady trying to come over the top of Acevedo. She's not going to get there. So bronze medal for the world champion. She finishes in third, and we're down to 2. Stenberg, she won last week. Acevedo's the world points race champ from Mexico. 2 up sprints as we see the world champion from Ireland. 3rd place for her this week. Stenberg starts the sprint early. And Yareli Acevedo throws in the towel. She had nothing left after that sprint match against Lara Gillespie. So it'll be silver for Acevedo. And Anita Stenberg, after winning the elimination in Hong Kong last week, she goes back-to-back, winning the elimination here in Nilai, Malaysia.
3-3-1, Mexico.
For those of you that know the sport, to win 1 elimination is impressive. To win 2 in a row at this level is extraordinary. So Anita Stenberg, once again on the top step in a women's elimination, just showing how strong the 33-year-old is. They haven't had a lot of success in track cycling Norway. Plenty of stars on the road. So fantastic to see Anita on the top step once again. Here's the points race world champ. It was marvellous last year in Santiago. Any of the Latin American countries that were in the results doing well got so much support from the crowd in Santiago, and that points race win from Yareli last year was extraordinary. Another good win though for Anita Stenberg. The crowd absolutely appreciating the performances here of all of the riders on the track. Good job indeed. The first couple of laps, always a scramble to try and get to a good position. Those with high points World Cup standings always start towards the front. That yellow flag, a little bit of confusion there with Zhao from China. She thought she was still in. Didn't stay in for too long where the officials would penalise her in any way or give her a warning. Just a little misunderstanding. And the efforts that was required to stay in, and for Acevedo, that one to stay in for 2nd place, to get over the top of Lara Gillespie, or to hold Lara off, was just a little bit too much for her to try and step back up again immediately against Anita Stenberg. So Stenberg comes away with another fantastic victory at the highest level in an elimination race. So from a brutally tough endurance event, we go back to the fast men. Men's team sprint, the final coming up. France versus Netherlands. Grenbo, Vigier and Durash versus Vandenberg, Levreisen and Van Loon. Florian Grenbo has been consistently the fastest of all of the team sprinters. He's up against Roy Vandenberg, the world and Olympic champion starter for the Netherlands. And the race for the bronze medal is underway. France versus Netherlands. 2 of the world champions from last year in Vandenberg and Levreisen trying to get something out of this Track World Cup in the team sprint. France again with a super fast start, as we always see from Florian Grenbo. Now it's Vigier versus Levreisen. The superstar of men's sprinting, Harry Levreisen, And he's been able to protect his third ride a little bit more this time. So the Netherlands go into the front, and Van Loon wasn't off the back this time as we saw in the previous race. So Van Loon trying to bring the Netherlands home for a bronze. France being brought home by Darash, but it will be Netherlands that get the bronze this time. So they had a real stumble in the previous round, Netherlands, and they just protected their third rider, Tiemann Van Loon, a little bit better this time. Team effort, great performance, and that's why they were able to get over the top of France. France were quicker in the previous round, but Tiemann Van Loon, hard on the wheel of Harry Levreisen as he did his second lap, was able to get a deep breath before he was unleashed for that final lap. So Netherlands, bronze medal to them. Come from behind over the top of France. As Levreisen just backing things off a little bit, just to make sure that Tiemann was on the wheel to save some energy for that third and final lap. Could this be an incredible first night here for China? Team pursuit victory for the men. Can they do the team sprint as well? So two nations we haven't seen in a final for quite some time. Italy will be lining up against China, and that is an extraordinary performance for Italy. We haven't seen them at the top step fighting for gold medals for a long time. So this is really, really good riding to get to this position. Stefano Minuta, Daniele Napolitano and Mattia Perdomo. Other side of the track, as we see, Huan Ruting, Li Ziwei and Jin Xinheng. China versus Italy. China the faster of the two in the previous rounds. But Italy running on emotion here to be back in a final at the top level. Jin versus Minuta, opening lap. China versus Italy, the race for gold and silver, men's team sprint here in Nilai, Malaysia. The final round of the Track World Cup. And a big gap opening up for both of these countries, but Italy, they've been super quick at the start. So Minuta with, once again, a really rapid first lap, but China coming back towards the end. But there are big gaps to their second riders. How will that affect them? China lead the way, coming around to complete the second lap with one more still to come, and it will be China that come through. Really close between them and Italy, only 0.2 of a second, and China trying to pick up another gold medal here in Malaysia. But the gap is closing, and Italy might do something extraordinary here. They do come through. Italy pick up the gold medal by 0.2 of a second, and we haven't seen this at World Cup level for a long time. Italy back on the top step of a men's sprint podium. Sensational. Grande Italia. What a wonderful ride. Silver for Italy, for China, with Netherlands up on the top step. So that will be an extraordinary presentation to see Italy 2 steps above Netherlands, who have been the standout team sprint nation over the last almost decade, to be said. But Italy once again, wow. Stefano Minuta, Daniele Napolitano and Mattia Perdomo. Congratulations, lads. Good to see the Italian colours back up in the mix in the sprint discipline. .43.1 winning time, 43.3, 0.2 of a second back to China. So we did see quicker times through the earlier rounds, but it's not a pure time trial. It's about getting through those rounds the best you can and coming away with the win in the final race, the most important one of them all. So Perdomo doing a magnificent job to bring it home. Forza Italia. Absolutely, well done. In terms of the team pursuit for both men and women. They've been really good. Obviously, world Olympic champions back in Italy, back in Tokyo. To the Italians, team sprint back on the top step. So Italy win gold ahead of China and the Netherlands in third. France, the best of the rest, in fourth place. Canada, good result from them to finish in fifth ahead of Thailand. So another good result from them. Kazakhstan in seventh ahead of Korea. India, Poland finishing in 10th as we go further down to Belgium, Greece, Malaysia. And the Mexican men finishing in 14th after we saw the Mexican women picking up the bronze medal. Pat on the back, absolutely. Well done, lads. Congratulations from the Chinese national coach, Denis Dmitriev, former sprint world champion. And he won that world championship here in Hong Kong, actually, where we were last week, Dmitriev. So familiar venues for the coaching staff as well, and handy tips to be handed to the riders with their knowledge of these tracks. They're not all the same. 250 metres, they're the same distance around, but so many of the tracks are slightly different shapes. Longer straights, shorter straights, longer bends. The transitions from the straights into the bends also changes as well from track to track, and that does change the tactics. As we see the confirmation of the women's elimination, Anita Stenberg on the top again, ahead of Yareli Acevedo. Further down, some less familiar names at the highest level. But we can go down and hear from Anita Stenberg on the top step again. Here's our winner's interview.
Anita, that's a very, very good race. You're winning against the world champion. Of course, he's wearing the rainbow jersey. How does it feel winning against her?
Oh, that is amazing. You know, when you have the rainbow jersey, everyone knows you are very, very strong. And you know, to beat that jersey, it means a lot. So, but Lara is also my friend, so also like beating her, it's very cool.
Can you share a little bit about the final stride that you go on alone?
Well, that it is amazing feeling, because of course, you know, I am tired, Yareli is tired, and to have that final push, and when she kind of gives up, and I know I will win, that's, you know, that's another thing. It's amazing.
After going through the finish line, what do you feel about that?
I feel really happy. Like, my elimination is always very difficult. You know, I have like a love-hate relationship to it. Sometimes it goes very well. Sometimes you are very unlucky. And to be able to pull off a victory, also here in Malaysia, the first time I'm racing here, it's like heaven.
Okay, congratulations, Anita. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So the women's elimination is going to be the next medal ceremony, but the team sprint did wrap up for the men and for everyone. The final race on the program tonight, but stick around. Always good to see the riders up on the presentation dice. There's Yareli Acevedo in the medals for the elimination and ahead of the world champion from Ireland this time, Lara Gillespie. She had a couple of great wins on the road in recent months, Lara Gillespie, so making a great transition from the track to the road. Still trying to bring their heart rates down as well. Little fan there for Yareli. Conditions very good, I must say. It's very hot and humid outside here in Malaysia, but they have got the air conditioning, which is unusual and at this level. They like to have the track really hot for extra speed, but they made the decision it would be just too muggy inside here, so leaving the aircon on just to make it a bit more comfortable for the spectators. It's still hot and fast out there for the riders though. So the women's elimination, the final one we see of the UCI Track World Cup series, the third and final race of the series. And the world champion from Ireland, Lara Gillespie, picking up the bronze medal. thoughts of the World Championships in Shanghai later this year, picking up some World Cup points, keep yourself tuned into the track.
Mexico.
And a gold medalist at last year's World Championships in a different event. That was in the points race, silver medal this time in the elimination for Nilai Acevedo.
And the first place representing Norway.
Back-to-back elimination wins. Hong Kong last week. Nilai, Malaysia this time. Anita Stenberg from Norway. Only 33 and continues to improve. Such a strong rider. She rode this one a little bit different to last week. Most of the elimination laps last week, she was at the back just picking riders off one after the other. This time spent a bit more time towards the front, trying to save a bit of energy. Either way, at the front or the back, seems to do it better than everyone else at the moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, please one more time your applause for our medalists from Ireland, Mexico, and Norway.
Appreciation for our women's elimination medalists, Anita Stenberg, Nilai Acevedo, and Lara Gillespie. Norway, Mexico, and Ireland. Just to continue the spread of countries in the medals here on the first day. Still 2 days to come, so many more opportunities for riders. And we'll see these three again in the coming days. Women's Omnium still to come. Scratch race also. Looked like a two-up sprint match, but at the end of an elimination, it's brutal. And as soon as Stenberg dived down the track, Acevedo knew she just did not have the legs to try and compete. So a comfortable last lap for Anita. Same last week. She beat Li Weizing last week. And Li also threw in the towel as soon as Stenberg made the acceleration into the final lap. They'll be thinking about recovering as quickly as they possibly can with 2 more days of competition to come here in the final rounds of the UCI Track World Cup. And in the hot and humid conditions as it is outside, it's not so bad in the track at the moment, but outside it certainly is. So they really need to be kept cool as much as they possibly can to not get either too dehydrated or just simply fatigued in the humidity. A lot of the riders riding to and from the track. Many of the riders not staying too far away. There's a golf resort just nearby where they're staying. So only about 3 or 4 Ks away. So most of them just cruising on down on their road bikes. They use the road bikes for their warm-ups anyway. A lot of the endurance riders. Not so much the track sprinters, but the enduros do. Team from Netherlands. You can see the mighty tattoo on the chest underneath the skin suit there of Roy. Layla from the UCI, just giving final instructions to the lads, nodding their heads. Yep, we know, we've done this a few times before. So Harry Löfresen on the right-hand side, 20 times a world champion, 5 Olympic Games gold medals. Still a humble man, despite the amount of success that he's had, which is good to know. He has that lovely nature within his personality. Well, the Italian team sprint team were incredible. Let's go down to the center of the track and hear from them.
Guys, congratulations on the wins. It's a very close final and a very exciting one. How do you feel about the final? And maybe you can share a little bit about what happened in that race.
Yeah, we see the semi-final. The time was good. And the Dutch team, I think they have a little bit problem, same the France. So it's good to be on the gold final. And for me, it's I have a little bit problem on the final, on the start. But you know, we trust each other all the year. So this is a result of the athlete, but first of all, a friendship.
for you yourself, what are you thinking when the China are in front a little bit, and then you guys coming from behind and finish with the win?
Yeah, I trust my teammates, and I see Stefano starting really fast, and I don't close to him, I don't close the gap, but I do just my work on the second lap, and then I know Mattia is going really fast on the third lap, and when I see 0.053, I said we can do it.
Okay, congratulations guys, congratulations.
Proud moment for the Italians. Great result to win the team sprint. So the men's team sprint victory ceremony, the last official proceeding of the opening night here in Nilai, Malaysia for the UCI Track World Cup, the third and final round. Two big nights still to come. Madison's, the Kirans, the sprints. We'll see all these team sprinters. Well, perhaps not all of them, but we'll see many of the team sprinters over the next 2 days.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and two of the three world champions now coming up for their presentation.
UCI Track World Cup in Nilai, Malaysia.
So the big men of international cycling, the sprinters,
Ladies and gentlemen, the medal.
up for the medal ceremony. And in third place, with two world champions within their squad, Netherlands. So on the right-hand side is Harry Leveresen, the 20-time world champion. In the middle, in the orange colours, Tiemann van Loon. Do not envy his position to be in third wheel with Roy Vandenberg, the man on the left, and Harry Leveresen, putting all that power through the pedals. And Tiemann has to hang on and then do one more lap at the end of it all. It's brutal. So good job to finish with the bronze medal, guys. Looking forward to seeing what Leveresen in particular can produce in the sprint, and the Kirin is still to come. China qualified in second fastest, and they've gone through, third fastest, have come through to finish in second place. So the Netherlands finishing third. They were the fastest qualifiers. That was what was fascinating about this men's team sprint. The fastest qualifiers finished third. The second fastest qualifiers were France. They finished fourth. China, third quickest. They got themselves up into the silver medal. So Zhang Ziwei, Li Ziwei, and Huang Ruting. And the fourth fastest qualifiers from Italy came away with the gold medal. It was an upside-down team sprint, and the Italians managed it better than anyone. So fantastic ride by the Italian lads. Stefano Minuta, Daniele Napolitano, and Matteo Predomo. From fourth fastest to the gold medal, men's team sprint, Italy. Fascinating result. And it does look like they have a height requirement for the Italians, almost identical in height. Certainly no prerequisite when it comes to cycling in general, the height of the athletes, all shapes and sizes. One thing about the sprinters though, big muscles. It's about the only requirement, an enormous amount of power that they are able to produce. Only the Chinese using 4 riders throughout the 3 rounds today.
Ladies and gentlemen, please one more time for our medalists from Italy, China, and Netherlands.
Italy, China, and Netherlands. The medalist in the men's team sprint in Malaysia. Fascinating finals. To come from 4th fastest up to the gold medal spot, that is an extraordinary performance from Italy. That will give them an absolute boost of confidence as they go about their way for the rest of the year and want to come back this side of the planet as they head to Shanghai in October for the Track World Championships. Can they get themselves onto the podium there? That's the goal. And they'll take this confidence with them throughout their training over the next couple of months. Plenty of time to go back, recover, and then start to prepare themselves for those World Championships. It's the difference with the sprinters as well. They do go back to their training programs, a lot of gym, a lot of track work, not a lot of racing for them, unlike most of the endurance athletes, especially those that are connected to professional teams on the road. They might have a short break after this week, but then they'll be straight back to road training and getting ready for the next lot of road races that are coming their way. And it's easy to stay motivated as a road cyclist because you have a different race coming up almost every week. For the track sprinters, they have to self-motivate, going to the gym every day, track training every day. It's so hard to, very important to keep each other motivated to move forward. So at the end of the first day, this is what's on the program tomorrow. We'll see the Omnium scratch race to start things off in the afternoon. So the Omnium, 4 different disciplines within that Omnium event. And we go into the sprint for the women. So we see the head-to-head battles within the sprint, and the big men, the Kieran riders, will be out. So the track sprinters have the sprint for the women, the Kieran for the men, and the Omnium Madison for the women tomorrow night as well. So that'll be fascinating to see. It was an incredible Madison last week for the women, both men's and women's races, but the women's race in particular was quite fascinating. So that's on tomorrow night's program. We will finish off with the men's Omnium points race to finish off the final of the night tomorrow night. So Saturday night here in Nilai, Malaysia. It's going to be a big one. Cannot wait to get into it. First night is done. We're looking forward to the second night. Make sure you tune in as Benoit Vetu, the head coach of the Chinese team, he'll go into the second night full of joy after a wonderful first night for the Chinese team. So good night from Nilai, Malaysia, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. See you tomorrow, Harry. Big program for him as we see him in the Kieran.